All right, welcome back for another Monday Fun Day. And for this Monday Fun Day, we are talking about direct objects and indirect objects. And it's important that you understand that everything that we're doing in grammar, everything is like a small stepping stone to a larger, more important idea. So direct objects might seem insignificant to you right now, but you have to understand direct objects to understand how phrases work in sentences, and you have to understand how phrases work in sentences in order to understand why you should punctuate sentences in certain ways, and also why certain constructs of words are fragments instead of complete sentences. So everything builds upon one another. This is just one building block on our road to awesomeness in grammar and writing. So direct objects. A direct object follows a noun. It is a noun or a pronoun, but it follows an action verb. So not a linking verb, not is, am, are, was, were, be, being, been, but it has to follow an action verb, and it receives the action of the verb, like Mrs. Kruse threw you the sucker. Threw is the action verb. What did I throw? The sucker. So sucker is the direct object. So a direct object can be found by asking whom or what about an action. So another sentence, the message reached the lawyer. All right, so message is the subject of the sentence. Reached is the action verb. The message reached whom, or the message reached what? The answer is lawyer. So lawyer is the direct object. Pretty straightforward. The hardest part is making sure that you know what the subject and verb are so that you can ask what after the action. If you don't find the right verb, then it's a lot harder to find the direct object. Okay, another sentence. His landlord is raising the rent. Landlord is the subject. Is raising is the verb phrase, but raising is the action verb. Subject is raising what? The rent. So the rent is the direct object. Marty and Carol serve pie and ice cream for dessert. All right, so subjects, compound subjects, Marty and Carol did what? They served. Served what? Pie and ice cream. So here you have compound direct objects because there's two answers to what Marty and Carol served. A direct object is never an adverb or the object of a preposition. So here's a sentence. Joanne walked her dog. Joanne walked briskly. Joanne walked to the store. Same subject and verb, but only one of these sentences has a direct object. Can you guess which one it is? If you said the first one, you are right. Joanne walked what? Her dog. If you ask that in the second sentence, Joanne walked what? The answer is briskly, which is an adverb, and adverbs cannot be direct objects. Has to be a noun or a pronoun. And the third one, Joanne walked what? There is no answer to that. The answer to that, or you would ask Joanne walked where, but to the store is the answer, and to the store is a prepositional phrase, and where is not a question that you ask in order to find an direct object, so that doesn't work. So remember that a direct object is never an adverb, and it's never the object of a preposition. It's always a noun or a pronoun, and it always answers the question whom or what after an adverb, or after an action verb. All right, so that was direct objects. Indirect objects are only a little bit different from that. You just ask different questions. So indirect objects are also nouns or pronouns, and they tell to whom or to what or for whom or for what the action of the verb is done. So in this sentence, Andy brought a flower. Oh, how sweet. Andy's the subject, brought is the action verb. Andy brought what? A flower. Flower is the direct object. There is no indirect object in this sentence. But If you add another word, Andy brought me a flower, now you have Andy brought what? A flower to whom or for whom? Me. So I'm the indirect object. Okay, so another sentence. Sarah showed the class her new glasses. Sarah's the subject. What did she do? She showed. What did she show? The glasses. So glasses would be the direct object. To whom? The class. So the class is the indirect object. Jeff gave Caroline a chess set. Jeff is the subject. Gave is the verb. Jeff gave what? The chess set. To whom? Caroline. So Caroline is the indirect object. You can kind of get in a groove with these and they become easy. It's important to note that if there is an indirect object, there has to be a direct object in the sentence. But you can have a direct object without having an indirect object, like in the sentence about Andy brought the flower. There was no indirect object, but then you add the word me, Andy brought me the flower, and all of a sudden you have an indirect object. Only action verbs have indirect objects and direct objects. Linking verbs do not have those, okay? So for an example, Zachary was a silly boy. Zach is the subject, was is the linking verb. Zach was what? He was silly. That's an adjective. There's no noun or pronoun that answers that question, and it's a linking verb, so it doesn't have a direct object. But in the sentence, Zachary saw a silly boy, Zach is the subject, saw is the action verb. Zach saw what? A boy. Now you have a direct object. Okay, and one last thought here. An action verb with a direct object is called a transitive verb. So if the action verb has a direct object in the sentence, we refer to it as a transitive verb. But if the action verb does not have a direct object, if it's not followed by a direct object, then it is called an intransitive verb. Intransitive verb. So because linking verbs are not followed by direct objects, they are always intransitive verbs. Sometimes action verbs are intransitive. It all depends on whether or not they're followed by a direct object. Okay, I have one other thing I want to show you here, just for a little more practice. All right, so we're looking at, again, direct and indirect objects. It's just another way of thinking about it, different wording. In a sentence, the subject and verb may be followed by an object. An object is a noun or a pronoun that gives meaning to the subject and verb of the sentence. Not all sentences contain objects, but some may contain one or more. There are two kinds of objects within a sentence, direct and indirect objects. So first, a direct object is a noun or pronoun that receives the action of a verb, like the sentence, Daniel fixes computers. Daniel's the subject, fixes is the verb. Daniel fixes what? Computers would be the direct object. Okay? And then if we skip down here to Roman numeral 2, sometimes a direct object is followed by an indirect object, but remember, not always. An indirect object is the noun or pronoun for which or for whom the action is done. Daniel fixes computers for his family. So Daniel fixes what? Computers for whom? His family. Yay! And then if we skip down to the bottom here, it says an indirect object may also come before the direct object. So if we look at this sentence, Susan gave me her notes. Susan is the subject, gave is the verb. She gave what? Her notes is the direct object. To whom? Me. Bam! And that is direct objects, and that is indirect objects. And we are done. Yeah.